G'day folks, I'm Daniel Dover and I'm joined today with Professor Ronald Burgundy on the History Network. This week we are talking about how the Vikings were successful as raiders. Firstly, we will be talking about the techniques when fighting with Ronald Burgundy. So Ronald, what kind of technique did the Vikings use when fighting?
Well, the weapons they mostly used were longbows, spears and axes. Some of the bows were found in Hedeby, Germany and were measured up to 193 centimetres long, which let them fly for a couple hundred metres. These Vikings were mostly all farmers, ever since they grew up with a violent background and had lots of time to train at a young age.
Thank you, Ronald. So what would you like to talk about next?
What I'd like to talk about next is their weapons and ships. The most expensive weapon was the sword, which used the most iron, and only the wealthy men owned these. Vikings carried these swords over their shoulders, and the swords were about 35 inches long. More of the Vikings carried axes and spears ever since they were lighter and very deadly, with a cutting edge of 3 to 6 inches. Archaeological excavations of Viking graves and battlefields show they used the same chainmail, shirts, long spears and sharp double-edged swords, as well as other well-equipped warriors all across Europe. Now onto their ships. Why the Vikings used lots of ships is because they were stealthy and they could hold up to 80 warriors who would get off the boat, run in and kill everyone and then go back to where they came from. These ships were built out of wood cut from the Scandinavian forest. They used different types of ships for different occasions, like the Norse. The Norse were about 15 metres long, used for trading. Then there were the longships, which were safe from all attacks, and the average speed was about 5 to 10 knots. And at the peak speed they could reach up to 15 knots. The longships were also about 20 to 29 metres long. The longships were very efficient ever since they were fast, sturdy, and were driven by both wind and oars.
So Ronald, what kind of tactics and formation did the Vikings
What
use?
started as Viking raids on small towns transformed into the establishment of important agricultural spaces and commercial trading hubs across Europe through rudimentary colonisation. Most Viking warfare was waged by small raiding parties. Such forces arrayed from 2 to 10 ships. Each carried about 30 raiders. Large-scale Viking invasions could involve hundreds of warships. Thousands of fighters landed, overpowered the defenders, and overran the land. In this way, the Vikings conquered land in England and France.
Thanks, Professor. And what was the formation the Vikings used to fight and win against their
Vikings
opposition?
had a battle formation called the boar formation, to take up to 20 to 30 men. Great force of this charge was strong enough that the wedge would punch a hole right through the opposing force's wall or line formation. Spearheading through the enemy's formation in this boar formation would spread a bit of fear in the enemy and break their lines. Several boar wedge formations could also be grouped side by side, forming a zigzag line pattern against the enemy's line and break through their position. Use of the Sphinx-Feikling boar formation was unique to the Norse and early Germanic people at this time, as the Romans did not document this as a tactic used by the Saxons or any other culture they'd come against.
Thank you for your time today, Ronald. And we will be coming to an end on this episode of the Vikings. So thanks for watching. We will see you guys next time on the History Network.